The Nintendo Switch has been kicking all sorts of ass since it released back in 2017, but recently, some people have been concerned about its future. As we get closer to the end of the year, we've been hearing more and more about the next generation of consoles, what they're going to look like, the specs. Microsoft actually just fully unveiled the Xbox Series X at the Game Awards a few days ago, along with a really impressive look at Hellblade 2 with this in-engine cutscene that looked scary real. Emphasis on the scary. Seeing Senua in this, like, contorting and chanting, I was just thinking, man, I almost hope next-gen games don't look this real, because when we start seeing actual horror games that look like this, well, it's not going to be a good time. This system is said to be like 4 times more powerful than the Xbox One X. The PlayStation 5 will surely be in a similar ballpark, at least. I don't think we have a clear sense yet of, how they'll compare in terms of power, or what the disparity will be. But as typically is the case, I'm sure they'll be pretty close. And it's led to a lot of discussion about the place of the Nintendo Switch as we head into getting this next crop of consoles. All the buzz is going to be centered around these new games, and the Switch definitely isn't going to be able to run them. So is it going to be able to compete? Yeah, you know what? It probably doesn't have a chance, guys. Let's be real. Maybe they should just pack it in, just like the Wii when it couldn't play the same games as the 360 and the PS3. Or remember when Sony stomped out the puny 3DS with the vastly more powerful Vita? Oh, what? None of that happened? Yeah, Nintendo dominated the competition in both those instances with weaker hardware, and I believe they will do something similar here. It's been the story of the Big N for many years now, and somehow people are still surprised when they prove over and over again that power isn't everything. But it can certainly be argued that a lot of the Switch's current success has to do with the phasing out of these current consoles. Like, most people, if they want a PS4 or an Xbox One, they already have one. And you stack on top of that, their successors are coming next year. And yeah, it makes sense that more people buying a system right now would go with the Switch. So how will they maintain that success when these juggernauts drop? Well, let's start with the games. The Nintendo Switch has built up a beastly library of first-party titles and exclusives in these first few years, with Nintendo now being 100% focused on the one system. These games have been extremely impressive, rating really high, which of course leads to high sales in both hardware and software. The current official numbers has the Switch at over 41 million systems and 246 million pieces of software sold. And note, that was as of September 30th, so that doesn't count for much of the time the Switch Lite has been on the market, and of course the big one, Pokemon Sword and Shield's numbers aren't included in that, which surely led to millions more being added to both of those totals. And again, with them not doing the 2 consoles anymore, consolidating to one, the next Pokemon will be on Switch. We actually have some pretty big upcoming heavy hitters that we already know about, like Breath of the Wild 2 and Metroid Prime 4. I'm sure a new 3D Mario isn't far off as well. Just a consistent flow of amazing games. But what about the competition? Because yeah, these systems are capable of these fancy new graphics, but let's not forget, it's not like developers are just going to dump the old systems and the install bases they've built up once these new systems launch. It's really only Nintendo who's still been doing that. Once the Switch launched, hell, you could say even well before that, support for the Wii U was pretty much cut off. But again, that hasn't been the case with the Xbox and PlayStation consoles for a while. So at least for the first year, maybe the first couple years, you have to assume most games are going to be made for both generations of consoles. The PS4, the PS5, the Xbox One, and the Xbox Series X, especially on the third-party side. Third parties are definitely going to want to maximize those sales, and restricting games to a new system early on when the install base is really small, because don't forget, you're starting back at zero, isn't the best way to do it. So out of the gate, they are going to rely largely, I believe, on first-party games, the exclusives, to take full advantage of this new hardware. And when we are talking straight up just exclusives, first-party games, I'm sorry, I don't believe Sony or Microsoft can touch Nintendo in that arena. They have some great stuff, don't get me wrong, but they just can't match the consistent high caliber of Nintendo games. Also, with a lot of these games still being developed for the previous generation of consoles, some of those multi-gen titles may still come to the Switch. I mean, after seeing games like The Witcher 3 come to the platform, something I never thought was going to be possible, I think we probably will see a couple more. And I think the popularization of crossplay and cross saves just makes the Switch even more attractive to developers. This is something I don't think enough people are focusing on. Like, I know Warframe recently came out and said that cross-save is currently one of their top priorities for the game right now. A game which already has an amazing Switch port, by the way. Try it out if you haven't already, it's free. Hashtag not an ad. And when that cross-save drops, it's going to be awesome to play the game on your PC or console at a higher resolution, but then be able to take the same save, the same experience on the go with the Switch. And it's one of those things that makes the Switch even more attractive as a secondary console, as it's like, even if you are more of a PS4 fan and Xbox fan, if you're thinking about buying a second system, the Switch just seems more and more like the one to go with. Especially when you consider the Switch's current install base, and that's not getting any support cut off, so that's just going to keep growing and growing, so that it is going to be a lot of potential buyers there. So yeah, while attention has to be split between the two console generations, Nintendo will still be 100% focused on the Switch. Now sure, those new systems will build up a slew of new games that are only playable on those new systems eventually, but it's going to take a while, it always does. And after power, there is the other big P word: price. How much are these systems going to cost? Both Sony and Microsoft are surely going to stay tight-lipped on that until as close as they can get to launch. We'll surely be looking at $400 as the very low end, except for that possible Xbox Lockhart, which is supposed to be a lower end system. Maybe that'll go under $400. But for the main beefy models, I think $400 is as low as you're possibly going to see when they launch. I could actually more so see them hitting $500. Some have even said possibly $600, which going that high has not worked out well historically. And you look at the Switch, that lower price point has been a huge benefit to it, coming out at $300. You've got the Switch Lite now going for like $200. So that right there is a huge price difference already. But I'm sure once these new monsters drop, probably a bit before that actually, you're going to see some Switch price drops. I was actually surprised to see the Switch bundles still being sold for like $300 this past Black Friday. Basically, they did the same deal as last year, and they still killed it compared to the other consoles doing huge discount packages. I mean, Xbox ended up selling the most hardware over Black Friday, moving those sad bundles for like $100. I mean, they were basically giving them away, and Nintendo still ended up making the most money overall because they were at that higher price point. But I do not think that's going to be the case next year. And if you follow Nintendo handheld specifically, you know that's when they really tend to take off, after they start getting those big price cuts. As I've said in the past, with stuff like the super cheap family plans for Nintendo Online and that, Nintendo wants the Switch to be like the handhelds in the past, where in many cases, everyone in a household ends up having their own. And that's going to be much more feasible once these prices start dropping. Like, imagine if you have 3 kids. What if next year, you're able to buy all 3 of them their own Switch system that comes with the game, or one of these big shiny new consoles without a game included for them to fight over for around the same price? I mean, that's going to be a hard deal to pass up. So I think that price discrepancy, especially assuming we get a price drop next year, will actually help the Switch surge in sales around this time next year. And you are going to start to see that. A lot of multi-person households going from maybe one Switch to multiple. Handhelds in general, I just feel, is something more intimate. People want to have their own. You know, you want to have it with you at the ready. That is one of the main selling points of handhelds. So yeah, when it becomes more cost effective to do so, I think you're going to see a ton of families doing that. And finally, of course, in March, just a little over 3 months from now actually, the Switch will be 3 years old. A new, beefier model is certainly on the way. I don't think anyone denies that. It's just a matter of when is it going to come out. Because yeah, I don't think there's any way they'll just move on from the Switch gimmick anytime soon with like a totally new system. After how much of a winner this idea has been, I think they'll definitely stick with it for a while, and then everything will change once again. There will be more of these new games that will surely be playable on that more powerful system, and the Switch will continue to be in its own category, allowing you to play games wherever, whenever you want, and without 10 seconds of input lag, okay, Stadia? You don't have to worry about your Chromecast catching on fire with a Switch. And the other big two will still be competing over who has the most teraflops. The whole, red versus blue ocean thing Nintendo always promotes. Which, there is nothing wrong with being in the red ocean, okay? I am super excited to see what these new consoles are capable of, but with the way the Switch sets itself apart, I don't think there won't be a market for this type of system for a long time. With more competition, I think the Switch's success, the demand for it, will only grow. And with that, this video's a wrap. Let me know your thoughts on how the Switch will perform with these next-gen beasts coming in the comments. Do you think they will continue to thrive, or are these new big bad systems going to stomp them out? Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this discussion on the Nintendo Switch and how it will fare against the upcoming next-gen PlayStation and Xbox. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. And if you want to keep the conversation going, hit me up on Twitter at Johnny Zakari and join my Discord, ChiGuy and Friends. Link to both in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching.